So, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today on our first webinar of 2026. I'm Gillian Henderson, Head of Innovation Commercialisation with InnoScot Health. We run our regular webinars on the last Wednesday of each month, and they focus on a variety of topics, all with common interest themes for our innovators and partners. Today's session will be recorded, and you can find all our previous sessions on the InnoScot YouTube channel, which you can access via our website. So today's session is a little different from our normal content, as we are focusing only on InnoScot. As some of you may know, our funding model is changing, so today we are going to look at what that means for our innovator community and other stakeholders. I'm joined today by our Executive Chair, Graham Watson, and my colleague Robert Ray, our Head of Innovation. Graham is going to talk through our evolution towards a self-sustained funding model. I'll be talking about our expanded suite of services and how they can be accessed, and then I'll hand over to Robert to give details of our brand new innovation call and the timelines and steps for application. We'll have plenty of time at the end to take your questions, so thanks to those of you who have already pre-submitted queries. For everyone else, if you can pop them in the Q&A channel, we can pick them up at the end. So Graham, I'll hand over to you.
Thanks, Gillian, and good afternoon, everyone, from me as well, and thank you for joining our webinar today. Just a little bit of background from me in terms of the history of InnoScot Health and how we've come to the point where we're at today, and the discussion we're having on the expansion of our reach. We've been in existence now since 2002, recognizing throughout that period that effective management of intellectual property generated by NHS staff is vital to advancing healthcare innovation, and we've been working collaboratively across Scotland for the past 23 years to do exactly that. And our role remains a unique one in unlocking the know-how of NHS to improve treatment and patient care. If we move on to the next slide, you'll see that again since 2002, our role has been consistent, and our ethos has led to the successful launch of numerous products, services, and successful spin-outs from a range of committed pioneers across Scotland. And I'll talk about some of these examples a little later. Increasingly, though, our desire as an organisation has been to concentrate our resources on a more expansive and strategically aligned offering that you'll hear more about from Gillian later in the webinar. So from April next year, we are moving to a different way in which we shall operate and how we're going to be funded. And that will mean a phased transition from solely an NHS Scotland partner to a more expansive consultancy offering that will leverage our skills along with those of partners in industry and academia to bring Scotland's triple helix closer together. In terms of, on our next slide, our history has been that as an organisation, we've been open to all across Scotland, but we've always been a relatively small organisation relative to the size of the NHS in Scotland. So that has stretched our resources and limited our capabilities. Increasingly, we've felt a need to move away from that restriction and limitation. So in future, with our new operating model, we'll concentrate on better serving the needs and responsibilities of key NHS clients as well as non-NHS clients. Remember, though, that protecting commercialising IP that boards own in a cost-effective manner is and remains good governance, research governance and practice. And the Scottish Government's policy requires that there should be equity of access for all NHS Scotland staff to a technology transfer office to provide suitable expertise and advice. And that's something they have had in place for the life of InnoScot and will continue to be an important policy moving forward. So we provide these TTO services. We have done, we will continue to do so to our clients. But every health board in Scotland will need to have some form of TTO arrangement in place that meets the policy requirements of the government, whether it's with ourselves or with someone else, by the 1st of April next year. For us, a key benefit of changing our operating model is that we become even more agile. Historically, we've been limited in the ways in which we could develop our business proposition while continuing to provide our key services, manage our spin-outs, the investments we hold in companies, and importantly, to hire and retain our talented staff. The new operating model means we can address these limitations while having greater flexibility to continuing to grow our very successful regulatory advisory service and expand our commercial advisory services. So this change represents an exciting opportunity for everyone within InnoScot. Regardless, though, as we move forward on our next slide, our commitments to our key strategic policy objectives remain unaltered. Our vision, mission, and values will not change from those that have been in place now for a number of years. Our mission to inspire, accelerate, and commercialize healthcare innovations wherever they arise for health, economic, and social benefit remains key to us. And just to close from me, a number of examples of actually how we've done that in the past and how we've delivered health, economic, and social benefit, and the sorts of things we expect to continue doing in the future. I'd point to the 4 case studies in front of you. Gillian Taylor, formerly an NHS Lanarkshire nurse, who co-invented the patient transfer scale, a device that's now in use in hospitals around the world. Paul Swinton from the Scottish Ambulance Service, the inventor of the critical airway management portfolio, again serving ambulance personnel in Scotland and beyond successfully now for a number of years. David Brennan, formerly with NHS Greater Glasgow and Clyde, now the CEO of Aurum Biosciences, a company with an innovative stroke therapeutic treatment that we have been involved with in terms of providing key corporate advice and strategic advice for a number of years now, and is poised to make a major impact on stroke treatment in the coming years. And finally, Fraser and Ying Sutherland, co-inventors of the products behind Cardio Precision. Fraser is a consultant at NHS Golden Jubilee. We sit on the Cardio Precision board, and their minimally invasive robotic cardiac surgery device is garnering attention and excitement at key hospitals around the world as we speak. So we wish to be associated with more successful innovators and their innovations in the future. And that's what our change in operating model will allow us to do. So thank you from me, and I'll now hand back to Gillian.
Thanks, Graham. So as CSO funding reduces and the NHS board shift to their own locally funded tech transfer office arrangements, InnoScot is evolving. So instead of being restricted to centrally funded national work, we're now able to operate more flexibly, and that means working with any NHS organisation that chooses to subscribe or contract with us. Expansion of our services to non-NHS clients, including innovators, startups and international partners. Expansion of our already growing consultancy services in regulatory affairs, commercialisation, training and investment readiness. So this shift lets us support more innovators at more stages with greater agility. Our full suite of innovation, regulatory and commercialisation services is now available to everyone, not just NHS boards, which opens the door for SMEs, early stage medtech companies, universities, research teams and international innovators to benefit from our expertise. As part of our transition, we've undertaken a review of our services and what elements are considered most valuable by our community. So Our core work has always been in the assessment and triage of ideas, and this survey allowed us to really assess the value in our skill sets, which have expanded considerably since our inception all those years ago. So further information on these slides and our assessment of our work can be found in the InnoScot Impact Report, which you can access on our website. But in the main, we grouped our activities and asked respondents to rank them in order of importance. So in terms of the initial evaluation phase, most respondents felt that the assessment of novelty and inventiveness of it in their idea was most important, with early health economic assessment coming a close second. So these are integral parts of our triage process, and all ideas that are brought to InnoScot receive a preliminary assessment of these elements, even if the ideas don't go forward to further development. Overwhelmingly, respondents felt that protection and commercialisation of IP from the NHS was the most important, and this was mirrored in the Chief Scientist Office review. It is good practice, and we are working hard to ensure that innovators from within the NHS or who are aligned with healthcare innovation can receive access to good advice at the right time in their project. In terms of the project management process, we weren't surprised to see that regulatory compliance came out on top here. It is widely recognised as being one of the biggest barriers to healthcare innovation, but with access to the right advice from the outset, it needn't be. Compliance can be built into the development pathway, adding value to the concept as you move forward. All of our development work takes place in alignment with our quality management system, but we also offer compliance consultancy at any stage of the development process. We received balanced responses in the commercialisation category, indicating that good quality advice and support at this stage is key, and our work in this area is focused around ensuring fair reward for innovators and the institution in any commercial arrangements, securing funds for ongoing development work, and managing the relationship with industrial partners. So we took this learning, and on this basis, we've developed InnoScot Health's full service portfolio, which is the complete suite of support now available to innovators across all sectors, not just NHS Scotland. And these service pillars all sit around our core purpose, which is to discover, assess, and commercialise innovations. So this central pillar mission reflects our long-standing remit as a tech transfer and innovation partner, historically for NHS Scotland, but now open to all innovators as we transition to that self-sustaining model. In doing that for the past 23 years, we have developed significant expertise in the elements which support that core purpose. Historically, we have been funded for the provision of that top right quadrant, but in doing so have developed skills and networks in the other supporting areas, and you can access these services individually as a one-off, or we can pull together a tailored package of support to move your project to the next stage. So I'll just go round the wheel. In terms of our IP management, the team provides end-to-end intellectual property support, and this isn't just patents. We can also advise on copyright, trademarking, design registration, and helping you unlock the value in your knowledge and know-how. We can support with IP strategy, patent evaluation, filing, renewals, licensing, and spin-out management. And this has been a core part of our TTO responsibilities for over 2 decades and remains central to how we protect and maximise value from innovations. In terms of the product development support, we support innovators through the entire development process, prototyping, validation, design for manufacture, usability testing, risk management, and eventual transfer to manufacturing. All of our development work is undertaken within our certified quality management system, so we are factoring in that compliance pathway from the outset. Depending on the project needs, we will work with partners in academia, industry, and the private sector to design and develop for manufacture. Moving on to commercialisation, this includes go-to-market strategy, pricing, business modelling, partnership structuring, and licensing pathways. So, as Graham touched on, we've delivered more than 30 commercial licence deals and helped multiple innovations reach national and international markets. So we're well placed to work with you to find a partner to move your innovation forward and get it into the marketplace. In terms of our media and communications team, we can help innovators articulate their story, improving visibility with investors and stakeholders and clinical partners. We have an award-winning communications team which strengthens engagement and supports innovators' credibility as they move towards market adoption. Also, in the commercialisation sector, we have income oversight. So as innovations move forward, we can manage revenue flows such as licensing income, royalty agreements, or success-based revenue shares. So this ensures transparency and accountability while maintaining good governance. We work with the commercial partners to ensure that innovations don't lose momentum in that post-launch phase. We work across our networks to connect innovators to the right industry partners, funders and investors, and we also support due diligence preparation and investor readiness work. In terms of regulatory and compliance, this is a significant part of our value in guiding innovators through that complex regulatory environment, helping them to define their pathway to compliance and getting their innovation to market. Now that might be through UKCA, CE or FDA pathways. We can support with ISO 13485 and 14971, establishing your own QMS and clinical evaluation requirements. So this is a huge barrier for early stage innovations. Our approach helps innovators build that expertise within their own team. Our entrepreneurship and startup support, we can help founders build the fundamentals of a viable medtech business, whether that's through structured commercialisation programmes, mentorship, business modelling and planning, and we are expanding our education modules designed for clinical entrepreneurs and medtech SMEs. Also in our education and outreach, we deliver training, workshops and innovation awareness programmes for clinicians, researchers and early stage companies, and these focus on intellectual property, market access, regulatory strategy and investment preparation. We have legal support, which supports our innovators with contractual guidance, including license agreements, collaboration agreements, NDAs and IP ownership structuring. And this ensures that innovators protect that value and navigate partnerships with confidence from the outset. Our market analysis service allows generation of evidence for decision making and funding applications. So that includes market landscaping, unmet need validation, competitor analysis and early stage health economic assessment, which allows innovators to stay on plan and bring the right device to market, maximising the novel features but ensuring that it fits within a healthcare use case and setting. So what do these changes mean for medtech innovators? With our new open access model, innovators can benefit from expert support without barriers. So you no longer need to be part of NHS Scotland to work with us. We have end-to-end support under one roof, from idea evaluation to market launch. We can cover the full pathway. We've also been working with the NHS for a long time, so that experience allows us to view a clearer route to adoption. We're offering flexible engagement models, so you can choose from fixed fee assessments, project-based consultancy, subscription models, or longer-term embedded support. As always, we're looking to de-risk the development pathway and shorten timelines, anticipating any hurdles and help smooth that development pathway as much as possible. So as we enter this new phase, one that opens our expertise to the entire medtech community, we reflect that in many respects, collaboration has always been key to our successes, and as we move forward, we're looking to build upon these relationships. It is incredibly difficult to innovate in isolation, and we recognise how valuable it is to have the right partners to support that innovation pathway. And this is highlighted here with some of our most recent partnership working. The mutual support we're engaged in with MDMC for both pilot manufacturing and prototyping and regulatory support. Our work with the T-Health Consortium delivering regulatory support. The work that we do in partnership with NEST, DHI, Codebase and Scottish Enterprise and the Chief Scientist Office on the delivery of the NHS Clinical Entrepreneur Programme in Scotland. And of course, in the ongoing support of our spin-outs like Cardio Precision and Aurum Biosciences. So whether you're a startup, a clinician, an academic or a well-established company who would just like to have some additional support, Our team would be happy to have a discussion about how we can support your next stage towards commercial impact. And with that, I'm going to hand over to Robert for details of our new innovation call.
Great, thank you much, Gillian. If we go to the first of the slides, please. So in line with what Graham and Gillian have spoken about, we are today launching an innovator call. We're calling it early stage innovator call, and there's a bit of a double meaning with early stage. So as Gillian said, we are essentially open for business to everyone now, not just NHS. But we are in this call particularly targeting people who are at an early stage in their career. So, for example, final year medical students or nursing students, midwifery students, and also people in their first or second year of qualification, so FY1s and 2s, for example. The other meaning of the word early stage, though, is that now, and in fact, as we've done for the past 23 years, we are looking to target ideas that are at an early stage. So where you have the grain of an idea or a solution, or you even have an unmet need. And the purpose of this, we want to stimulate innovative thinking, and we want to get try and develop new ideas, new solutions that are in an early stage. The process is very simple, and I will describe that over the next couple of slides. So what sort of information do we need from you? Really, at the stage that you submit a proposal, it's quite a small amount of information we're looking for. We need a statement from you about what the problem is or the unmet need. In the past, we have very much encouraged innovators to come to us with a solution, however early or basic it might be. But now we're also asking you to come forward if you have an unmet need or a problem in your department, your hospital, your workplace, wherever, so that we can actually discuss that with you and try and help you to work through to find a solution yourself that we can then work on. So come to us with that. If you have a proposed solution, please tell us what that is. Again, it doesn't matter how early it is. We do need to know what the novelty of the idea is, how new is it, and what sort of problem does it actually solve. And in describing that, we would want to know also who's going to benefit from this and what the scale of the problem really is. Is this something that is a local issue for you in health tech, med tech, or is it something that could be, is it a problem for other people too in other countries, other hospitals, other places of work? We'll be looking for a little bit of information about the current stage of development. Obviously, if it's an unmet need, you won't have much of that, but you may have partly developed the solution yourself already. You may have some sketches or drawings or some text, and we'll be looking to discuss that with you too. And alongside that, any supporting evidence or data, or even a simple prototype you've made. It may be that you are innovating a new kind of medical device or an app or a platform, and you may have some simple prototypes or some simple code written for that as well. But I would stress at this stage too, at the stage that you're submitting a proposal, we're not looking for anything sensitive or confidential. It's a really short statement of information that we want from you. If we can move to the next slide, then what kind of ideas do we want? As I've said, it could be a medical device. It doesn't have to be, of course. That's an area that we've worked in extensively over the past 23 years, but it can be anything really health tech, med tech related. What we're looking for, though, are things that actually improve patient care, patient health, patient outcomes, safety, and quality of care. I think ultimately that's the goal for all of the ideas that we would like to progress. Ideally, we would like ideas to have and to show some kind of health economic benefits. So something that will reduce the cost to the buyer, whether that's the NHS or a private healthcare organisation. Equally, your idea might be something that supports staff well-being, helps staff to deliver healthcare, helps staff to do their job better and more easily and more safely. Something that might contribute to workforce resilience. Of course, at this time of year in the winter, the NHS is always under pressure. So ideas that help alleviate that kind of stress and pressure on healthcare systems are very welcome too. And increasingly, we are finding we're getting a lot of ideas come through to us that are data-driven, that have an AI component, and that are digital solutions. And those are equally welcome as well. So anything that is like an app or a platform or something with an AI component that you think will help improve healthcare is very welcome, and we would gladly appraise those for you. If we go on to the next slide, I can tell you a little bit more about what we will give back to you. So when you submit your proposal to us, we will evaluate it, and we will more clearly define the problem if you're having problems defining what the actual issue is and what the clinical need is. I suppose that's most relevant really if you come to us with an unmet need rather than an actual solution to a problem. We will work with you to develop a solution and work with you to try and assess and evaluate the impact on the healthcare market. So one of the things that we routinely do is market assessment. So going out and looking for the market and the market size for the innovations that come through us, whether that is a local market, whether it's a UK one, whether it's an international market, that kind of thing. We do very much look at things like scalability and feasibility. So feasibility, not just technological feasibility. And so, you know, is this actually something that can be made easily? Is it a medical device that can be made that will actually work? Can it be scaled and produced at scale? But also, does it align with national priorities as well? So as you'll know, certainly within the NHS and Scottish Government, every year there are a raft of priorities that are announced, different areas that are being targeted, different healthcare areas. So for example, women's health is currently being targeted, and people are being encouraged to come forward with innovations and solutions that relate to things like, for example, menopause. Our evaluation will also look at IP advice too. So we have been very much founded on the base that we are IP specialists, that we will offer and provide good intellectual property advice. If your innovation creates new IP, we can tell you how it can be protected, how it can best be exploited, and what you need to do and what we need to do to help ensure that you get the maximum value from that IP, from that valuable IP that you've created. If we move on a bit, please. In terms of the timelines and the process, as I said, the call is open from today. We have a link on our website, which will take you to a very short submission form. And again, as I've said, all we're really looking for is a statement of the problem. I think we've limited it to 200 words, a statement of the problem as you see it, what is new about it, what problem does your solution solve, is it an unmet need, and then a few basic details so that we can contact you back. The call will actually run until the 30th of April, so we're doing that very much minded that everyone on this call today is busy and has a job. So we want to keep it open over the Easter period to give people time, if they've got a day off or a few days off, to perhaps think about their solution, perhaps think about how to submit their proposal. So there's no massive hurry to get your idea in. We will provide a detailed response and evaluation to all of the proposals that come to us at the latest by the 31st of May, although there is a good chance that we can get back to most people somewhat before that. And something new that we're doing this time is that we are planning to host a short Q&A webinar mid-March. So it'll actually be the 11th of March. And that webinar will be for those of you who want to submit an idea to us, submit a proposal to us, come along and drop into the webinar on the 11th of March. We'll have a bit of an introduction, and we will just basically take your questions and answers, and any problems you have. If you need help formulating your idea, formulating your submission, any questions like that, and that is designed to help you and make the process just that little bit easier, so that you can submit to us in good time and get an evaluation back from us in good time. And the link for that is on our website, so www.innoscot.com. And if we go to the next one, please. That essentially wraps up my part of the talk on the innovation call. We have some time left now for questions and answers. We've certainly had quite a few come in, so I will just do these in no particular order and point at people who I think are best able to answer those. We'll start with a very easy one actually, which is probably for Gillian. If a project needs grant funding, is that something that InnoScot Health can help with finding and sourcing, and how does that work?
Yes, absolutely. I'd probably advise you not to contact us under this specific innovation call for that, but you can reach out to the team with a short summary of your idea. Let us know if you're a health board employee or if you're an SME, and we routinely troll for grant funding just to check eligibility and opening and closing dates, but we can certainly have a look and see what's out there at the moment and see how we can support. As we come into March, we normally see quite a few calls being launched, so it's probably a good time to start looking for funding, because it is getting increasingly more difficult to finance innovation projects, but certainly reach out to the team.
Okay, thank you. We've had a few things come through on the chat. There's a few questions and there's a few follow-up questions and points, so I'll just do them in the order that they've come in. So someone's Umar has submitted a question saying, how can InnoScot and BSI collaborate more to remove regulatory compliance barriers? I don't know, Gillian, if you want to start with that one.
I don't think we can remove compliance barriers, but I think we can certainly demystify it. A lot of the work that we do is around education and support and helping companies ensure that they are on the right compliance pathway from the outset. I think when you are a medtech innovator, you are very focused on your idea, and regulatory compliance is not necessarily something that you think about at the beginning. So we're quite keen to make sure that people are factoring that in from the outset, and that in and of itself makes that pathway so much easier. So our work is mainly focusing around that education, early intervention, and we do that with support from partners in BSI.
Okay, thank you. Is there funding for SMEs to access these services, or would the company need to pay? I guess that's a more general question about all of our services, really, but not just the regulatory ones.
So yes, for the innovation call, that is open to SMEs. I suppose it depends what stage your idea is at. This innovation call focuses very much on early stage ideas. If you're an established company, perhaps you may already have a lot of that information. Where there isn't funding available for InnoScot services, we would certainly work with you to access additional funding for those services. But it's always worth a chat. It's difficult to provide a yes or no answer. Yes, we will try, I suppose, is the best we can do in the context of the webinar.
Great, thank you. Another question then is, you've been working in partnership with NHS Scotland for over 20 years. How do you see that relationship evolving? I guess I'll start with that one, and then Graham and Gillian can jump in. I think we're not, splitting away from NHS Scotland by any means. They are still very much a valued client base, and I think we will always be here to sort of work collaboratively with boards, with innovators. I guess our USP or our unique stance is that we support people who are, I guess what I'd call lone wolf innovators. So people who have an idea themselves. They're not necessarily part of a team. They just have a good idea that they want to develop and take forward, and may or may not be a particular stage in their career, and that's what we're here for. I think we work very close with parallel organizations. So some of you may be familiar with the Clinical Entrepreneur program, and that's very much designed for people who want to train as entrepreneurs with a view to actually having a hands-on role in the development and commercialization of their innovation, whether that is as a future company director or CEO. And we sit alongside that. That's not what we do. We recognize that a lot of people with good ideas have a full-time job in healthcare, and they want to keep that job, but they also want to develop their innovation, and that's kind of where we sit. But I don't know, Gillian or Graham, if you have anything to add to that about how our relationship with the NHS is going to evolve and change.
Robert, I would just say, I mean, you're right. We'll continue to have a very close relationship with the NHS. It's just that I think in the future it will be more focused. It'll be more focused on those boards who we have a very active client relationship with. So that will take up a significant proportion of our time to deliver the range of services that Gillian outlined in the presentation. So it probably means that for those boards who have chosen a different path to access TTO services, well, either they will be doing it with someone else, or they will be seeking perhaps more case by case advice, whether from ourselves or from someone else, and that's probably as I say, a little less guaranteed that you will be able to deliver on that type of relationship, because, as I say, our priority becomes the boards where we have client relationships, and that's a sort of subtle difference from what's happened in the past 20 years, plus years, where, as I said in my earlier comments, we've really had an open to all mentality. It will be more focused now.
Okay, thank you. Gillian, anything else to add before we move on?
Just say that, no doubt it will look different. Obviously, as the scope of the services we can provide expands, we're also expanding the way that we can work. And in the past, we've been quite constrained in how we can engage with the NHS and what partners we can bring in. So I think there's more scope now for more collaborative projects with the NHS and industry and academic partners.
Thank you. So another question that's come in is, do you have a limit to the amount of organisations that can take part in the innovation call? I would say no, we don't. We encourage any and all submissions, and we will provide the evaluation that I outlined in the slides earlier. I guess one limit, though, would be that not every idea that comes to us is going to be viable, feasible, successful, and in the feedback that we give, we will make it clear if we think that is the case. There will be, with the best will in the world, there will be a lot of ideas that come in that just aren't really going to fly, and not because they're bad ideas necessarily, but a lot of the time it's because a solution like that already exists somewhere. And part of the market assessment we do is to look to see whether there is already a product or service out there that solves the problem that you have, and try to connect you up with that. So there are a number of reasons why we wouldn't take on every single one of these as projects, even though we will evaluate them. Gillian, I don't know if you want to add to that as well.
No, I think you've covered.
Okay. So another question that's come in then is, I'm just reading down the screen here. How do you plan to widen your reach across the innovation ecosystem and make the connections that matter most to your organization? I don't know if one of you want to take that one first, or I have an idea or two, but I'll let you leap in.
Robert, just from me on that, again, it's worth highlighting the communications and engagement team that exists within InnoScot Health. In-house team, award-winning team. The work that they do to leverage our resources and our capabilities as widely as possible shouldn't go unrecognised and unnoticed. So we will continue to utilise that team to maximum effect, to make sure that again, the messages we want to communicate are communicated to the right people, and they have partnership arrangements already in place with boards across Scotland and with other key agencies.
Okay. Gillian, anything you want to add before I do?
Yeah, I think this is something that we've already been working on over the past probably 2 or 3 years. We've already established our consultancy offering, and we're hoping to grow that. And that in and of itself allows us to tap into a wider network than we ever have before. Mm-hmm. So I think we're really just hoping to build upon that over the next year and beyond.
Yeah, and I think what I would add as well is highlight some of the successes we've had in collaboration and reaching out to other people in the ecosystem too. And particularly, we've certainly in the last few years increased the amount of work that we have done collaboratively with certain academic institutes, developing prototypes and projects with students in the final year. So, for example, we work quite closely with Heriot-Watt University. We often give a number of projects to them every year, to the final year engineering students as honours design projects, and we get great results from them prototypes, and it gives them a real world project too. And I can foresee that kind of thing developing and expanding. You know, we worked with Glasgow School of Art in the past, and various other academic institutes. So I can certainly see that the academia link rather expanding. Another question then. So we'll take one or two more questions and then aim to wrap up at 1:45. So just see this one. During the presentation, you mentioned that the information you need includes the scale of the unmet need. For early stage SMEs who have not yet defined this, do you provide assistance in doing this work? Gillian, do you want to start, or will you let me to?
Yeah, I think the fact that you've identified it as a need that hasn't been met, you would have sort of early indicators on the requirements for it. Part of the work and the report that we will provide would really help refine that. So I would say it's certainly still worth inquiring through the call.
Okay, thank you. We'll take one more question because we have a couple of slides to wrap up with at the end. So the last question, I think possibly for Graham first anyway, is InnoScot Health has had notable spin-out successes. How do you intend to develop that and continue to identify the leading spin-outs of the future?
Yeah, well, thanks for the question. And yeah, we're very proud of the work we do with the spin-outs. Spin-outs are not a solution to every innovation. Let's be clear about that. And they are relatively rare in the number of disclosures that we receive. But we will continue to look for the ideas where we believe there is the opportunity to bring in external capital, where there's the opportunity to grow quickly, and where there's a capable management team in place. So there's quite a lot of factors that come into play with spin-outs, but you know, we do see them as an important part of the ecosystem that we're in, and we have excellent connections with funders, equity funders across Scotland and beyond, to support the right spin-out at the right time in its journey. So it's certainly something, as we get disclosures from innovators, we're always looking for those that have that capability.
So this is just really a reminder to everybody, you know, we have a back catalogue of these innovation webinars that we've been doing for 3 years now. They're on YouTube, and you can also access them through our website as well, covering hundreds of different topics and lots of different guest speakers, anything to do with innovation. So I would encourage you to look at that. We have several webinars coming up in the next few months, which hopefully will be of interest to you. So in 2 weeks' time, 25th of February, we are hosting guest speaker from Public Health Scotland, who is going to talk about their recently launched innovation framework. They launched that last year, and just generally about innovation in the public health space. As I mentioned, we're running a very informal Q&A workshop for our innovation call. That'll be on the 11th of March, with more details to follow. And then we have a webinar on the 25th of March. So usually we do our webinars on the last Wednesday of the month, and we'll be doing one on the 25th of March to coincide with International Women's Day, where the focus will very much be on women as innovators and inventors. If you have any suggestions for future topics, things you'd like us to cover, as long as it has something to do with innovation, please do email in, and we will do our best. And the only other thing to say is, if you want to talk to any of us at any time, you know, please do use our website and you can book a consultation with us. We use Microsoft Bookings, so you can easily find a time slot that works for you, and you can chat to us for half an hour as well. But thank you very much, everyone, for attending today. I hope you found today's webinar useful and valuable. Thank you for your attention, and thank you for all the questions that you sent as well, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you, everyone.